Hello everybody and welcome to another very nasal, still cold, suffering review. And in today's video we're taking a look at the Giga Source Giga Power GAUDENTER HQ05R Blue. This is of course the animation inspired G1 style swoop from those amazing people over at Giga Power Toys,
who strive to produce the best quality products. However, depending on specific time of purchase, even same type of items may vary in terms of the toy itself, packaging, illustration, etc. We appreciate you understanding.
Boom! Taking a quick look around the box. Again, we've got the gorgeous Spike Art working his magic. And then we have Swoop on the back there, wielding his swords. We have the foldy wings. We have the ginormous stand that comes with Swoop. And we have him in his pterodon mode as well. There's a very brief bio, and I will just make this perfectly clear. Giga have informed me that the flame accessories are only included with the metallic figures, not these chrome ones. Now, if you've watched my red swoop review, then you'll know that these come packaged in this big old hunky chunky piece of styrofoam, sporting the bot and his accessories on the front. And if we rotate this around, on the back there we have the additional neck piece, we have the additional head, which is the translucent beak, we have the different adapter for the crotch, and we have the base, the sword attachment, and there's the additional neck piece as well. If you haven't seen the red review, then where have you been? Right, here are the accessories out of the box. As you can see, I've put this display base together. Here we get a remote control as well. Now I've included information just here of what batteries you need for the sword, these lights and the remote, and we basically just press this and the lights come on, and then we can press, I think it's this, and then they can fade and flash, and then we can just turn them off by pressing this. Now I do have 4 of these lights because I've got both versions of Swoop, and the remote should control all 4. I mean, you do get a remote with each, but for some reason I can't get the lights on my previous version of Swoop to work. I'll have to take them apart and take a look, but for some reason I cannot get them to work for the life of me. We get the red-eyed angry version of Swoop. Now, it was Eddie Cassidy that messaged me on Facebook and asked me, can you switch out the red and blue eyes? Now, you can. As you can see per these pictures, I did manage to take the faces apart, and the eyes should be interchangeable, but for some reason I couldn't get the red into where the blue and the blue into where the red was meant to go. I don't know if the connector is slightly thicker on one, but if you've got an X-Acto blade, you should just be able to skim that slightly and they should fit perfectly, because I can't see any reason why they shouldn't. Now, as well as this head, we also get the blue translucent beak as well. Love how that looks there. We've got that beak section that can come down, and you've got that tongue which can fire. You get a set of red sticker eyes that are included within the instructions. They're to apply to the beak that's attached as standard to Swoop. We get a secondary neck adapter. And now at the moment, I'm just waiting for a response from Giga. I don't necessarily see the need for this. I could be doing something completely wrong, but you can just switch out the heads by plugging them in on this tab here. You don't really necessarily need to switch out this whole neck joint. We get those swords over here, and we get those missiles, which we'll take a closer look at shortly. And we get this really nice big extending base section. If you go to the underside of this base, you can poke the top panels up. That reveals the holes that this can locate in, which for the first time is quite scary, but it does fully extend. And when you get up to the kind of the height you want, you just lock that into position. Again, these panels here go on a ratchet, and this piece here is also on a ratchet. As you can see, it has locking pegs, so you can lock those ratchet positionings in. Say you want to go there, just make sure you rock that in and place that in, and that will lock all of that into position, and then we have this sliding panel as well, which can up and down and slide left and right. So there's a lot of different options for these arms. Very, very big chunky support beams. Now you can see that I've popped the panels out. If this is how they sit underneath, and you just get something like a screwdriver or something, just push those up and they come up rather nicely. And then following the arrows, these are going to just go on and just push that into position, and then push this one down as well. And that's the base, buttery biscuit base. And as you can see, this part up on the top here, we get two of these. This one is designed for his pterodon mode with a T position in, and the one that's on there as standard is designed for his robot mode. They are held on by a screw. There's a screw hole at the side. You just get a small screwdriver, unscrew that screw and switch that out. It still confuses me as to why this one isn't on there as standard, because Swoop comes pretty much in his pterosaur mode. Now this is how Swoop arrives out of the packaging. Doesn't he look gorgeous? First port of action for his pterosaur mode. Pterosaur? Pterodon? Pterosaur? I think it's a pterosaur. Is to move these pieces down. His heel spurs are in the back of these small legs. So we'll just open those up for now and bring that down, and then push that piece back up, and then just bring the backs of these legs together. Do that for both of the legs. Just untab this leg here, which allows us to bring this piece all the way forwards. Just need to push that up over this wing panel, which allows these to slide out fully. This is going to come untabbed. The neck comes all the way up, and then these panels will slide all the way into the center. You need to make sure that this arm is angled down just slightly so it's clear of the lip at the bottom, and then we're going to push those both in. These pins come over and they just lock into position on both sides. Bring these wings back down and back down, and then we can just collapse the head in. That's just going to push and lock and tab into position, and then the head can collapse back and then down like so. Then we can just bring these legs back up to the top, and they're just going to tab in either side of these wings, locking into position. And there we have him in his dino mode in all of his glory. I love the fact that we can rotate these little claws as well. He does look pretty darn funky, doesn't he? He tidies up exceptionally well. Now the blue is still my favorite color, but at the same time the red really does look spot on with the rest of the Giga dinos. This is a very good looking piece. It just glistens. I think the blue even more so than the red. The only downside to this is the polystyrene that just, if you manage to crumble any, it just goes absolutely everywhere. But just look at that gorgeous sheen that we have. And of course there is space on either side of these wings for us to mount our cannons. I don't necessarily use the cannons, but they're there if you see fit. Now we can rock our Swoop back like so, have the wings up like this, and then using that T-piece that I said about earlier on, we can attach this to our stand, and then this will attach on like so, and we can have Swoop soaring down to aid the rest of his dinos. And for those of you concerned with realism for your giant robo dino, he does have a tail which can be flipped down as well. I mean, that's a centerpiece in a display if ever I've seen one. Only downside being is it's absolutely massive. Will it fit in a detail. Yes, it will, but you will have to retract this arm piece down somewhat to get it in. But he's a gorgeous looking figure. I love the fact they've done these bases. Really would have liked something like that for some of the other figures as well. But that being said, Grimlock is getting a throne, isn't he? And that in itself is an excellent thing. Now, to give you an idea of how he scales, even in his Dino mode, he's a really large figure. We've got him here with Hoist, Wheeljack and Prime, and just that beaming, glistening colour is absolutely gorgeous. And here we have him riding the Chrome Express with Optimus Shine. And here he is alongside the Fans Toys Swoop. I have tried eruditing the head into place, trying to pin it in, and I think I'm going to have to take a pin out and maybe recast the joints, just because where that snapped on there, where it was too stiff, I just can't see a way of me joining that neck joint back on again, which is such a shame because it wasn't a bad figure. It's just I seem to always pick a Fans Toys figure with really shoddy QC. For those of you wanting the alternative head on there, we can just disengage this panel here. The head itself is just ball mounted, so it can be just popped off. It's a horrible hinge, but we can just remove that rather than taking all of this section here out. I mean, imagine you can just pop this back piece off, pop the new head sculpt back on. That's the translucent chest, so you can see how that looks. Now you can put the angry head on there if you see fit. I really am not a fan of the angry head, although I would love the red eyes, but like I said, I couldn't quite manage to get them to fit inside one another. So let's just move that up, and that's just going to slide down. He's a gorgeous looking fellow, isn't he? Now, to get him transformed up, it's not the most complexing of transformations, but at the same time it is quite satisfying and rewarding. First port of action, we need to just maneuver these wings off slightly, so we're going to bring these legs, just untab them. These panels here are going to untab again on the back of those feet, like so. The heel spur goes all the way in. Make sure that this leg is straight, and then this will come all the way down inside the leg, and then that's going to push and lock off. We can then bring the tail upwards. So again, with this side, open up the rear, push the heel spur all the way in, bring the leg out, down and down, sliding that into position, locking these tabs off. Front of the knees can then come down and cover off the knee guard. There's a tab at the back of the leg, allowing for the foot to come down, rotate round, and then we have a very stiff heel spur which can come down. These back panels here come away and come away. Bring that peg up. You've got a button on the back here. You can then slide these panels out. I love how spring loaded this section is. We just open this up slightly. Ah, look at that, it's very satisfying. Click there, and this arm and all of this panel here flips out, filling out this void, and then we can just close those peg panels back off. The chest then drops down, rocks back, detach the head, that's going to rock back, and then bring this down to the front, and it should line up nicely on the inside, and then just push the head down like so. The arms can pull and extend, rotate, and then unfold from the base and rotate around. Do that for both sides, and then fold and compress those wings down. There we go. And we have him fully transformed up. I've put the clip on his back there, which houses his swords, and I know it's somewhat difficult to see, but I have lit those swords up. They don't glow as nicely as I would like in this light, but they do still give off that kind of flame-like glare, which is definitely enough. Especially when you're taking photos, etc., they can look really nice. Now I like how that translucent beak looks on his chest, especially with this blue. I think it definitely works. It's just an all-round really nice figure. I stand by what I said in my red Swoop review, that Swoop is now my favourite of the Giga dinos. It's just a toss-up now between this and the red. I'm not sure which one is my favourite. I always loved the blue as a kid. He was the Swoop that I knew from the cartoon, but the red, that's kind of the toy, isn't it? The red was how the toy was, the red was how the comics were, and it's kind of how it should be, I guess, and it's very in keeping with the rest of those Gigasaurs. And speaking of other Gigasaurs, here he is alongside the current Giga Power lineup. My red review, somebody made me chuckle. They complained that the Grimlock I was using looked far too small. Why didn't I use the oversized Grimlock? That is the oversized Grimlock. That's how big these Giga Power Gigasaurs really are. And here we have him alongside red as well, but with the fully chrome chest piece. See, there's a lot going for both molds, I think. Yes, the red looks kind of more universal with the rest of those figures, but if we get Grimlock done with the red as well, then maybe Swoop with the blue can really kind of break up the coloration. And again, with some more of those G1 inspired masterpiece figures, see, that's the sort of scale I was expecting my Dinobots to be. And finally, here he is alongside the Fans Toys equivalent as well. He towers over him. I do especially love the way those swords attach to the back there. They really do tidy up. And now the head can look up and down. We're on a ball socket and a pivot there, so we've got a nice amount of range. We can tilt left and right. We've got ratchets on the shoulders. They do rock as well. There's an upper bicep rotation. We have a double jointed bend on the elbow. We have fully articulated hands with 2 pins per finger. There is waist rotation, no hindrance from the beak section there, because it tabs in at the chest here as opposed to the groin. We have hip skirts to the front, side and rear, allowing for legs to go that far forward on a super tight soft ratchet, that far back out to the side on a friction. There's an upper thigh rotation there. We do get a bend on the knee, and I love how that piston becomes visible as well. There's a lot of die cast around these legs, and then we got some up and down on the feet. Not a great pivot, but a pivot nonetheless. And there's enough there to get a pretty decent wide balance stance. And using that in conjunction with the stand, Swoop's going to be one of the more dynamic of our Dinobots. So there we have it, ladies and gentlemen. As you saw with my red version, he can also use these rockets as guns. Very much looking forward to getting the metallic versions of these with all of those flame effects as well. If you are a chrome lover, I think you'll absolutely adore these. I've already seen a few people selling up their saws to get a hold of one of these, and I really don't think you will be disappointed. I stand by that this is my favourite Dinobot. I think it's one of the best they've done so far. I love the way everything has a place, everything's nice and smooth. The paint is exceptionally well done. The chrome kind of tin plating, I guess it is, it looks absolutely pristine. I would have liked the faceplates to be able to interchange better. Maybe I'm doing something wrong, or maybe there's just a slight flaw with mine, I'm not sure, but I could not get those red eyes into those blue sockets. That being said, still a very delightful set. I've included the number of batteries and battery types in the description below as well. And until next time, from myself and Giga Power's BLUE Swoop, thanks for watching, goodbye.